I went to a coffee place where I queued like everyone else. And then I queued, and then they served the person in front of me was white, and I was at the back. And then she got served. Another her friend came in, white, got served, and I waited for another 5 minutes. And the lady who's serving the coffee never apologized to me, never said sorry, never said to the person you jump to the queue, and they laughed together and left. That's racism. Those subtle behavior are behavior for privileged people, because they say, I can do it, I can get away with it. But if I did that, everyone will shout at me. You can see exactly what happened with the lady, the white lady at the park in Central Park. The reason why she wanted to call the cops is because she knew that she had privilege. But the guy she's calling on the cops, too, he's a highly intellectual, educated Black African American in the United States who's actually doing something good for the community. The lady was there doing her own thing for her own self, and this Black guy is doing something for the community. If the police came, the guy will die. And they will tease him, and then if he's got heart problems, die. And then I think also we need to remember that Black people who are they killing, sometimes they have underlying conditions. If you put your knee on the neck of someone who has been having probably hypertension or have diabetes, or they haven't been breathing very well, and we all know that the Black African community, we have asthma issues, or sometimes we overweight, you're accelerating my death, Waza.
Yeah,
you're accelerating my death.
Yeah, there's been a disproportionate number of the cases of COVID-19 even amongst Black people that I've read online about this.
That is the systematic poverty. That is because the institutions put the Black people in areas where they can go for work. I'm a lucky person where I can go every single morning to go for work, to get some fresh air. But so many people, so many Black communities and minorities are put into, buildings, places where the environment is not being taken care of. They're not economically empowered, so they cannot go and live into places where they should belong. There's less housing built for them. They cannot afford it. So many systematic problems we need to change in our society to make sure this is equal justice. Everyone is equal economically. But if there's a disparity in funding, disparity in housing, disparity in health, you cannot pay for your insurance, or you cannot see your GP, your general practice, and you put people in a way that is very tiny, is very small. They cannot, they cannot go to good schools, because in the UK, schools is based on, on where you are, the neighborhood. And so if you cannot travel, you don't have a car, so many problems that we need to redesign the systems, Miwaza. We need to redesign systems. One of the things I'm thinking right now about this whole, this whole crisis we have around racism, is to think about how can we design systems that are more empathetic and more inclusive and kind. Designing housings that are far, far away, where a young mother, with her Black son cannot travel, or in fact, anybody really. You are creating systems of disparity, and then all it's going to do is going to create poverty. It's going to create problems for people, who don't have the means.
Mm-hmm. Right. And I think, the system, like you said, we have to do a surgery, right? We can't just put Band-Aid on it and call it a day. And I think individually too, people that do not struggle with the same thing that, you struggle, or African Americans struggle, we have to do surgery on ourselves and see the racism in us, the privilege in us, and really decode our values and our ideas and how we treat other people. Exactly. I think, because yes, it's happening in America a lot, the issue around race, but we as Japanese people too, we are in a way affected by the West, the whitewashed values. And we do need to recognize that, I think. And this is the opportunity. We have to take it as an opportunity to really reevaluate how we see race now, unintentionally and intentionally? What does need to be changed?
I really like what you just said. Your point is that it's important that we start thinking about racism, not just when there are issues like this, we just don't take it as band-aid, as I said. What we need to do, we need to really look into the, what is making people feel like this, decode the information, but at the same time, almost put your surgery lens on and say, what am I doing to make Mariéme feels like this? What did I do? What is my behavior? What have I done to make her feel small? Did I invite Mariéme in my table like everyone else? Am I looking at how Mariéme eats, how she works? Do I have biases in my head? Why am I like this? Am I scared of her? Where is this fear coming from? But again, all of this comes from how we educate our children. You and I hope that our children will be compassionate, kind, empathetic. But unfortunately, Miwaza, even our children get bombarded with bad messages, bad information. We educate them very well at home. And when they go out, they see social media, they see white supremacists, they see people telling them, don't hang around with this person, don't do this. So many things that is also stopping our children to be who they are. But I have a hope that young children, young people, will understand about diversity, working together. Because at the end of the day, I believe when Black lives matter, everybody else's lives matter. It's not about Black lives matter as a hashtag, but we need to understand the deep conversation we're having here. When Black lives matter, everybody else's life matters, because we have been doing stuff behind Black lives for over so many, many centuries, 401 year, in fact. And this is important because it comes from slavery. It comes from trading human to humans. And this is why we need to start thinking about this very, very carefully. And when you are in a restaurant in Japan, or a restaurant in Hong Kong, or a restaurant in the UK, wherever you are in the world, ask yourself, does this Black person life matters to me? If the answer is yes, then your life matters too. But if you're looking at me, you're saying, well, your life don't matter, I don't care about you, then we're not going to progress, because we are all in this together. And this is where we need to start the conversation. It's not a competition between Black and white, but Black lives have been taken away for many, 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 many centuries. It's been evidence, there's data, there's evidence-based information around it. We've been criminalized, we've been vindicated, so many, many ways. So many, many African women, in fact, were accused of, being terrorists. Nelson Mandela was accused of being a terrorist. They criminalized him. They criminalized Margaret Thatcher, criminalized Nelson Mandela. She criminalized Nelson Mandela. She called Nelson Mandela a terrorist. So what I'm saying, what I just said to you earlier, the world, a Black man has been criminalized forever. When you are criminalized, then you have no other way to do anything. And then I really believe in what I just said.
Mm-hmm. So moving forward, right, we need to educate people. First, we need to learn it ourselves, the history, identity, the good and bad, all of it. Mm-hmm. And then moving forward, we do need to educate people about racism, what it means to be Black, what it means to be, white, like everyone's life, right? We need to educate people about race. Mm-hmm. How do we educate people about race and also racism?
I don't have any time anymore to educate white people about racism. I have no time for this. I have no time to keep justifying myself all the time as a Black woman. White people need to start going on Wikipedia. They need to buy Black African books. They need to go and study African studies, or they need to contact people like us. They say, Mariéme, I want you to come to my conference to talk about Senegal, the Gorée Island. Tell me about slavery a little bit. But at the same time, we need to put racism as part of the curriculum. Because we are talking about generations, because racism will not end now, Miwaza. Let's be honest about this. We're going to, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, 30 years, 40, 50 years from now, we're going to talk about racism again. Because we have a new generation of young people growing up. My hope is there will be some human consciousness. It's time for us to treat people based on who they are, based on their character, rather than based on their skin color. And also, we need to think about human dignity. What matters to you matters to me. It's not because we are different shape, different hair, different backgrounds, different country, different location, that you and I are different. I probably have taken the train before you have taken the train. I probably got education before you got the education, because I left the station before you came in. But it doesn't mean that you and I are different. So we need to treat each other better. Human dignity and making sure that every single person's life is valuable. Your life is valuable, like everybody else's life. My life is valuable. All these Black men's lives are valuable. Don't use them as a commodity for sex and for stuff you want to do, and you don't use them for their creativity, for their intellect, for their beauty. We're beautiful Black men who are highly educated. They are fathers of their children. They love them, they care for them. All they want to do is just live, Miwaza. They just want to live. So why are you taking their life? They just want to live. Institutional racism exists. I was listening to the other day, someone mentioning that prison is a business in the United States. It's a business. And we need to make sure that we don't just put people's life behind bars. Because when you put someone's life behind bar, you're just telling them your life has stopped now because you have criminal record, you cannot get any job anymore. These people have done petty crimes and they done crimes. I understand, you do something and you pay for it. I understand you get punished, but the punishment is too harsh. And we need to also think about where these people are coming from. Education, the home, Miwaza. I know from experience, being a mother of a 19 years old boy, that I had so many chances in failing this child. So many chances. I had a broken childhood. I was not educated. I couldn't do his homeworks. So many odds against me to become a bad mother and for my son to end up in a juvenile institution by the age of probably 14 or 15. But I educated myself. I stayed strong. I didn't take drugs. I didn't go into a mental health facility. I stayed strong. So I say, let's also help fathers and mothers and make sure that people are not poor. And the boys don't feel that they need to go out and sell drugs to feed their families, or girls need to go and do things that they should. No. Because if you have a good environment, you have a good family, you have your mom has got money, your dad has got money, you live in a good environment, your education system is good, there's fairness. You don't need to go and find anything else. But if we are living in a competitive world where everybody wants to have the latest shoes, the latest Mac, the latest iPhone, and there's a greed, and we need to teach people, girls and boys, about consumerism. Live in a simple way. You don't need to have so many things. Maybe also the media, the TV, creative people like you need to shape the conversation. You need to maybe go and tell the stories that are real stories, not just a story we hear all the time. Everyone cannot become Oprah, Miwaza. Everybody cannot become, Michael Jordan or wealthy people. It's not possible. It takes decades, 40, 50, 60 years for people to make their money. But right now we want everything is instant. Social media, instant. Millionaires, instant. Everything is instant. So this attitude of being everything is like now, the instant need is also creating problems. We need to be honest about this. It's creating young girls and boys going and being in the hand of the system that is already not favorable to you as a Black person. So if you carry on doing crazy stuff, you end up in jail. And when you end up in jail, your life is over. So we need to also be honest with young people, educate yourself, go to school. When your mom and dad ask you to go to school, go to school. Avoid going with people that are going to create problems.